guys, welcome back to another Brick React. So we're going to continue the trend of watching Bricky Warhammer videos, but today we're going to watch, best faction or army to start with. It looks like maybe I've already started a little bit, but maybe I wasn't strong enough to get through it, and so I haven't seen the whole thing, so I have no idea what he thinks the best army to start with is. Let's give it a go.
Port on my prior Warhammer video has been, to put it lightly, absolutely outstanding. I've not had a video perform that well in maybe 3 to 4 years.
That's awesome.
And it's also a breath of fresh air to be able to make a video on something.
Yeah, guys, I think it was like 10 million views on the first one, and then the second one didn't do nearly as well. It was like 5.9 million views, and then this one looks like it, kind of continuing the path of having. This one's 2.6 million views. So, so it really sucks to see a king on a down slump, but maybe he'll pull it out.
A whim on Warhammer, while very popular game, not a game that I ever really made videos on, and to have it perform as well as it does. YouTube and the YouTube world doesn't like change very much, so it is incredibly heartwarming. But with that, it also came with a question that was always being asked to me ever since making that video. Hey Bricky, what army should I play? So for this, my next major Warhammer video, I'm going to answer that question. Okay. I'm going to go over all the different kinds of armies, just like we went with the main video, except instead of lore, we're going to be going through the different various ways of collecting the army, as in not only price-wise, but how many models you're going to need, how new or old the model scopes are, and we're going to be going over the play styles of each army respectively. Are they melee? Are they shooting? Are they a little bit of both? Elite armies with only 20 models on the battlefield, or horde armies with 120 models on the battlefield? We're going to be discussing all of those, what each army is about, and give you at least a decent run-through of every single faction to allow you to make the conscious and intelligent choice on which army you want to play if you want to get into the tabletop of Warhammer 40,000. But first, before we...
That's crazy. So he's going to go through every army and be like, this is what they're good at, this is what they're bad at. I'm really curious. I mean, we learned he's such an authority in the last video, so this will be super interesting to watch.
To start, I need to show you something. So I own an absolute boatload of wall art all across my house. I received from cons, and so when I was contacted by Displate to...
this is an ad. We're gonna skip past this. We have a sponsor today. The sponsor is that's kind of cool, but the sponsor's GamerSups. I think code Bricky. That's the one. We're gonna do code Bricky. Or Orchid 8. Actually, go buy yourself some fresh threads from Orchid 8. This shirt is not from Orchid 8, but definitely check out Orchid 8. They've got good stuff over there.
Partner to Games Workshop. Forge World makes these kind of custom minis that aren't in the codexes specifically. However, you can use them and field them in your games. They're just generally expensive, kind of a little bit weirder. They're a little bit more bizarre and sometimes like fan-made creations and such. But Forge World is like a side company of Games Workshop that makes 40K. I might mention them a few times. I wanted to go ahead and tell you about them.
So already a couple things to mention that. He's leaving out a really important detail, which is this website doesn't exist anymore. So already I got to give him like 4 bananas out of 10 when it comes to the truth of this video. I would take it with a grain of salt. It is 4 years old, and videos of this age, like sometimes they don't age well. What could even be said changes from time to time, and that's okay. As society grows and evolves, and also, so do websites. And so, right now, if you were to go to Warhammer.com, I'm gonna pull it up here. So this actually is their website now. Forge World doesn't exist technically. What does he have? He was showing the Necrons and stuff a couple seconds ago. He was showing the Custodies. Custodies are one of the few armies that actually have Forge World. Morgan is not a Custody, but if we come down, none of these. Wow, a lot of these are not Custodies. What's going on? Games Workshop, Space Fantasy. What's going on with these genres? Series, Horse Heresy, but novel series, no. 40K? Oh, are these book series only? That's book. What a weird way. Okay, sometimes this website is just unruly. We gotta go all the way through. So Armies of Imperium, Adeptus Custodes. Okay, great. Here we are. So temporarily out of stock. Yeah, go figure. Here we go. So online only items for Custodes, they tend to be like, Forge World now. And so that's kind of how you could tell. They're also denoted by this expert kit. So he's not going to get into that. He didn't know he's stupid at this time. It was 4 years ago. He wasn't smart, had the knowledge of 4 years today, Bricky, that knows that you could just do this. So that's important. All right, I'm gonna get back to the video now.
That they're not used a ton, but they are something that you can use. Next,
once again, I gotta fact check him. It is. That's weird. Oh, maybe y'all. Yeah. But I gotta fact check them. Custodes, they like very recently they had a list where it was all Forge World pretty much. So I wouldn't say like it's unusual. It's very usual for like certain armies to have Forge World if that army just happens to be Custodes. If they're not Custodes, then odds are it's probably not it. So okay. I needed to clear that up because he clearly just missed that point. Once again, he's dumb right now. He doesn't know. He'll get smarter eventually when the weave of time unveils itself and he gets closer to the age of 30.
Tell you about hitting numbers. So if I ever say something like, oh, this army hits on 3s or 4s or 5s, what I'm saying is if they hit on 3s, that means if you roll a d6 and you throw it out there, if you get a 3, 4, 5, or 6, anything 3 or higher, then you hit your shot. You've landed onto your target. If I say they hit on 4s, it's 4 and up, 5s, 5 and up, etc. And finally, we have things called.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's really important to mention that some armies have changed over time. Like for instance, I'm going to bring up Custodes once again. Custodes used to hit always on 2s, but then there was like the potential for them to hit on 3s, and then Games Workshop changed that. It was a whole thing. So. I would once again take that with a grain of salt. Bricky doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's okay.
Stratagems, I'm going to mention those a few times. Stratagems are like special abilities you can use after having a pool of command points that you get for building your army. And you can
once again, sorry, Bricky's stupid. He doesn't understand. Old Bricky doesn't know. Once upon a time, it used to be how you built your army, and that's up to debate if it's better or worse. But it's... Oh, shit, I'm getting a phone call. Oh, it's Adrian. Yo, what's up, Adrian?
Hello.
Hey, what are you up to?
Just at the studio doing for tonight.
That's cool. Hey, I'm reacting to this guy's video. His name's Bricky. His video is... what's the best Warhammer 40k faction and army to start with? Do you think you would happen to have opinions on that matter?
I'd say I have a couple things to say about that.
Do you have a camera?
I could.
Yeah, why don't you pop on and then I'll get you through OBS. Sorry, chat. It's gonna take a second.
You can kind of dole those out, these special abilities, stratagems, as you wish. You ever played Command & Conquer, Red Alert 3, or perhaps Kane's Wrath? My personal favorite was always Kane's Wrath. You know those little abilities on the side of the map? It's like those. Let's start off with the #1 best army you should collect.
Ooh. All right.
For a new player. Space Marines.
Ooh, Space Marines.
Before we get into tactics, before we get into how they play, I want to remind you all of the most important rule, the golden rule of collecting Warhammer.
Okay.
You will always have a better time with the army whose lore you like and design you prefer. Always buy the army you think are the coolest. If you like undead Egyptian space robots that have enslaved gods as weapons, buy the damn Necrons. I don't care if Necrons are S tier or F tier, buy the damn Necrons, okay? If you love Viking aesthetic and you love Space Marines, get the damn Space Wolves. I don't care if they're S tier or F tier, get...
This is largely true. This guy, like, he put himself on a Space Marine model the other day, and you couldn't get cover on that. All right. So to quickly catch you up, so Minecraft streamer Bricky, he's going through and he's like, hey, these are the best Warhammer armies to start with. And he's already, like, you know, I've caught him on
the army that you love the look.
I've caught him on a couple things that are just incorrect. Like one of which is he's like, some armies they hit on certain numbers all the time. That's not true. He said you get command points for building an army. He's clearly stupid.
Crazy talk.
You get command points throughout the game. Everyone knows that. That's how you get
obviously
them. The video is 4 years old, so maybe he just didn't learn yet.
He seems doubtful, honestly.
Yeah. And
look, if it wasn't accurate, he should have taken it down by this point, honestly.
I think you think he's just for spreading misinformation?
Yeah, I think so. I think
that's good. But you know, small content creator. His other video had 10 million views, but this one I got lucky. You tell me this one he's got like 2.6 million views. And this video came out after, so I don't know what that means. But I think you know, maybe downturn. I don't know. I don't know. But
it could be the downturn is imminent. You know, YouTube, it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. Yeah. But let's see what he has to say.
And the design of first. Nothing sucks more than playing a meta army that some people might not even want to play you against because you're going super power gamer and having to paint and create an army that you don't like. Play the army you think is the coolest. Golden rule.
I think that's true. I think that's true.
I think that's very valid. Like, you know, some things haven't changed between 4 years and between now. It's just play the rule cool. Cool models are forever. Good rules are temporary, right?
Well, one thing he doesn't talk about is the 3-color minimum meta where people would just rattle can an army and then hit it with 2 dots. I mean, maybe he goes into painting. I suspect, but you know,
I don't know if he's a painter kind of guy. You know, he seems like the guy that would have other people paint for him.
I think so. Those hands don't look like they're painting hands.
No, I wouldn't risk it. You could just snap the models with those big sausage fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. His ogre hands. Ogre hands.
Okay, Space Marines. So the poster boys of Warhammer are our first faction today, I know.
By the way, before you called in, he said this is who everybody should start with.
Oh God!
Pretty bold statement. Maybe that's
a very bold statement.
Actually, you know what's funny is before I even started this, I realized I was watching this video already, but it stopped. Like, you know how YouTube shows you the progress of a video.
Yeah.
Like, it was right where we are right now. I think I just clicked off when he was like, "Do a Space Marine." I was like, "I'm leaving."
Goodbye. I mean, I will say, if you always want to be constantly buying new models and never being finished and having to change things constantly, you should play Space Marines first.
I think that's true. And you know, maybe you just really hate money. And
yes, if you just have too much money and you don't want it,
like a
you should play Space Marines. Yeah, that's Minecraft streamer money right there.
Yeah.
Best army to collect. All the new players are like, oh God, not the Space Marines, the generic ones. And all the veteran players are going to say, oh God, not more Space Marine players I got to deal with. And the tournament players are already ready to hire a hitman to kill me. But I'm sorry, I know, I agree. Space Marines are right now, but they really are the best army. If you are a new player, Space Marines are your best bet. They are the best army to collect if you are a new player, and let me tell you why. Number one, Space Marines got all the lore. They got a monopoly on lore. They easily have the most fleshed out backgrounds of any of the characters or factions in.
It's funny because right before this whole video, he's like, I'm not going to talk about the lore. First thing he does.
No, he can't.
He can't stop himself.
This guy.
I think he doesn't even play the game.
No.
I don't think
he's a fake fan for sure.
Fake fan for sure, yeah.
Warhammer. Space Marines have the most books. Space Marines are a huge part of the Horus Heresy. Just Space Marines will always have the most, and they have the most depth to them. Number two, Space Marines are very easy to paint, especially for new players. When you get Space Marines, you have a ton of variety of chapters, and they all have a ton variety of colors. And they're also pretty easy. Space Marines are also very large.
That's a general
larger than normal,
so
their canvas size is much bigger. Smooth.
Definitely not true for white scars. The other thing you can't do is you can't really contrast Space Marines because it just looks
easy. Ultramarines.
Yeah, imagine.
I don't know.
They make a whole line of paint to make painting easier. Yeah. It sucks on the one thing that Bricky's saying is the best thing. I remember I got contrast to use on my Ultramarines, and I was like, I hate this. And I've actually never used contrast again since then. Like I know when back when we did our little break, a little vacation last year. Yeah. Brian taught me how to use contrasts for for doing some cool effects, and I hold that in my heart in a special place. Yeah. But I don't use it to paint models anymore.
Blue, white scar, white, Imperial Fist, yellow, salamanders, green. Yeah. It's extremely easy to paint Space Marines. And for a new player, I would highly recommend them for that specific part, because the painting and building is a massive part of this hobby. Number three, Marines are always getting new models. They are always getting
This is a negative.
From Games
This is a huge negative.
They've just been updated. They will get updated again and again and again. And the Harlequins and Dark Eldar players are crying in the corner, but we don't care about them, because I got a new primary.
I gotta say, that aged pretty poorly. Like, of course, they didn't. But like,
no, but like extremely poorly
in the worst way, right?
That's so uncomfortable.
It hurts, dude.
And the Drakari just lost their Tantalus, final bastion.
Yeah, jeez, poor friends.
You could not shoot that today. Yeah.
There's Lieutenant, and he's got a skull shield. I don't know. They're always getting new models, and while it might be a little excessive at times, they will always be updated, and your rules will always be changing, and therefore it keeps it very fresh.
And was like, this one looks good.
Playing them. Number four, you have a vast amount of data sheets and units at your disposal.
Again, these are also negatives for new players.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to build. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to learn. But again, I understand Minecraft is a very different game. Yeah. So, this is all new to him probably.
When we think about this through the lens of a Minecraft player, I think this really tracks, right? He's like, oh, you go for like the most common things. The most common thing is a Space Marine. And so there's so much saturation of it. We're easily able to like pivot this into, generating more views, I think. I don't know. But
it's all about the views.
He said at the beginning, you weren't in here yet. He said at the beginning, he's like, oh, you guys really loved this video, so I'm doing this video now. And like, hey, look, respect it. Everybody does stuff like that. That's okay. But I want to take a look at this. Like, this looks like it's wrong. Is this what an Intercessor Squad does? I don't think so. Where's its ability?
Where is its ability?
It doesn't even have an ability.
No abilities. Just plain Jane, completely vanilla.
Wow. This is... Wow. So he's even putting up
rifles,
fake photos of it? Yeah.
Yeah. Did he make his own profiles?
I think so.
Is he not capable of finding them? And he was just like, well, let me just imagine what a Space Marine would look like.
You have to...
They shall know no fear. Never heard of that ability.
Yeah. What is that ability? Yeah. Oh, there... Yeah. That's the only ability they have?
Oh, it actually does say, that's abilities right there. Huh. Nice try there, Bricky. It was a good try. Good try.
It's like if somebody explained to him what Warhammer was, and he tried his best to recreate it.
Have you confirmed he's not just like a AI-generated content creator, is he? It's like, this is all just...
Is he?
Made by an AI?
I'll start watching his hands. That's the one way to know.
That's right. Watch his hands.
Yeah.
There's also something weird going on in the forehead region too. So I would actually explain that as well.
Is it just me or does it just keep getting bigger?
I think in every time they cut the camera, I swear it's like a little like 2% larger.
Oh my gosh. All right.
After all the lore of it, after some of the keywords and art pieces and stuff, you have the data sheet.
How long does he talk about Space Marines for?
All of your units and what they do with their
oh my God.
and
a long time.
Special rules and so on.
And that's all Space Marines?
However many units your army has depends on, well, you know.
Demeki and I found a way.
Take the Adeptus Custodians. They have a very small amount of units, and their standard codex of data sheets is only...
That's not our book.
That's not the book. This guy doesn't even have the right pictures.
This guy doesn't even know what the pictures are. This is AI art, dude. This is AI art.
That definitely. It's very airbrushed, very AI generated.
Yeah. All right, let's.
Sisters of Battle, however, still just... a little more medium force.
Right.
They have.
We did this the other day, and it worked out pretty well. So just to get through Space Marines, Space Marines should not be your first army. Yeah. Welcome, Fast Bricky.
19 pages of data sheets. The Imperial Guard, they have a much larger amount of data sheets because they're such a large army. They have 39 pages.
He's destroying us in the marketplace of ideas.
56 pages of data sheets for different kinds of units.
So
a little
true.
bit at times because of the amount of characters and stuff, but still.
I know we're memeing on the speed, but honestly, I don't think having that many data sheets makes it a better army to start with.
No, it honestly does make it worse. It's harder. It's way more difficult to know what to do. And then the thing is, like, when balances happen, when changes happen, you're much more likely to have to go to a fully different unit rather than like adapting to what you have there. You know, it's like, oh, you didn't know Blade Guard are out. It's all about like jump pack intercessors now. You know, it's like, whereas another book, there's nowhere else to go. You got to work with what you got.
That's right. And also like there's probably different like balance philosophies around those armies too, because it's like, if they just use this different model, that's okay. Whereas like an army much more handsome like Custodes wins something.
No bias, of course.
We'll use a different army. Like for instance, as you know, I am the best Imperial Titan player in the world.
That is true. I mean, that's your favorite army.
Well, it's one of the favorites, but like that, they can't just nerf the Warhound Titan. Because it's all they have, right? And so if the Warhound Titan got changes, other things must change with it in order for it to keep its state of playability, which would technically make that the better army to start. But yeah, let's see what he's got to say, because I know we got time.
All over the place. Their variety is endless, and it is being even more updated and added as time goes on. Which brings me to number 5, and the most important of them all: Space Marines use every phase of the game. See, in Warhammer there are phases in each turn.
What the fuck? What is a psychic phase, bro?
Psychic? What the heck is that?
I've never heard of this phase.
I have no idea. He's like using like.
Is this
rumor-mongered like pictures? Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot.
ChatGPT.
That is the current theory. Yeah.
He's like, how do you make what is a Warhammer game like? That's crazy. This is crazy.
Exactly. Edition, so we're getting something called the command
phase.
This
is Warhammer as seen by an alien.
Psychic phase, shooting phase, the charge, fight, and then morale phase. Now, the last 3 are kind of all packed into one, if I'm being perfectly honest. But the main thing is that a lot of armies might utilize some of these phases a lot more often than expected. Grey Knights are very big in the psychic phase because they're all psychers, so they really have a lot there. While Tau don't have any psychers, and they won't even use that phase, but they've got really damn good shooting. However, they don't have any melee, so they're not going to be using the charge phase. Whereas, say, Slanesh Demons will use the charge and psychic phase plenty, but they won't be doing any shooting of like any kind, pretty much. The Marines, they will use every single phase, and you can't get good at the game and get good at the phases unless you're able to use all of them. And that's where Space Marines shine. You can play them however you want in any kind of role. See, if you want to say an Iron Hands or Imperial Fist army, these are both shooting based.
Let's say it did exist. It's kind of crazy to just be like, oh, they would use all phases. Like, then you're also setting up your potential viewer that's going to start an army for extra failure, because they're going to like the information that he's like giving people subcontext on is like, oh, you should be building a list that can do each of the phases. When in reality, it's like, no, you always kind of just like stack the one. It's like you do all the shooting or all the melee, or theoretically, if it were psychic, all the psychic. But once again, that doesn't exist. That's so silly.
Yeah. The fake phase.
But you could still have good melee. Where if you wanted to play a more melee-based army like Space Wolves or Blood Angels, you'd still have good shooting units. You could still do plenty in the shooting.
See, he's trying to explain that. That's not true.
Right? This guy.
phase. That's the most important part. Space Marines will use every single phase, and they are very, very good at it. So that is the main 5 reasons why you should be playing, or at least you should try collecting Space Marines. Like, no, I don't need more Space Marines in tournaments, but it is the best decision. They're good to paint, they're good to collect, they're always getting updated, tons of units that use every phase, and you can tailor them however you'd like. Plus, and this is kind of down the line, but eventually after playing them enough, you might understand which army you'd want to collect second. If you start collecting a little bit of Space Marines, you start realizing, oh wow, I really think I prefer having more models on the table, or I wish I had tougher models. Then you can go for Tyranids or then Adeptus Custodians. It helps you figure out your second army a lot better. If you're a new player, you want to get interested in it, just do this. Go online, get yourself either, or check eBay, because there's tons of offhand Marine stuff on eBay. Get yourself a pack of Intercessors or maybe a tactical squad. I'd say Intercessors because they're more modern, they're newer and more meta, and they're bigger for better paint canvases. Put them together with some glue, get some paint on them, try them out, and try getting into the game that way. I think it'd be a pretty smart and a pretty solid idea to get someone new into the hobby, and Space Marines just really are one of the better choices right now. Okay, now that I'm done sucking.
I think eBay's a solid suggestion. You know, I'll always say, you know, hey, you know, if you support GW, their website's always great. You know, see what they got. But I'm also a big fan of the secondhand store from Frontline Gaming.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Personally.
Big fan.
What about you, Adrian?
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I can get those models secondhand. Someone's already built and sometimes painted them.
When I did my Warhound Titan challenge, that I wouldn't have been successful building a army the night before a tournament if they weren't half assembled or half painted. So it's, you know, that's
so really shout out to Frontline Gaming here.
Shout out,
that's what we're trying to say.
Shout out Frontline Gaming.
As much Marine dick is your brain. Let's move on to the rest of the army.
Let's bring it back to regular
Bricky. The Imperial Guard.
Yeah. Now that we're through Marines.
The Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard are my main army. They are what is known as a gunline horde army. Whereas
really bold claim for a Minecraft streamer.
Yeah, main army. Imagine if you call this main army up and you're like, hey, dude. We need a player. Can you bring your Imperial Guard army? And he's like, I only have 1,500 points. That's real main army energy.
That would be wild.
That's
crazy. Yeah, imagine you needed them for like a teams tournament or something.
Yeah, that you admittedly weren't a part of, but you got forced into participating.
That's no excuse. Okay, if that were to ever happen, there'd be no excuse. You should have your full 2K ready at all times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Shooting, but it's more melee based. The Guard is going to be running 60 to 100 infantrymen, support walkers, artillery batteries, aircraft, drop troops, tanks, bigger tanks. The Guard is all about just blistering firepower. Now, however, the downside to this is that the Guard, while well-trained, are only 4-up well-trained. They hit on 4s, and they also do not have very good survivability. Guard stuff tends to be rather fragile. They very rarely have any special saves.
Do you think that saying, like, what an army hits on is a valid argument for whether or not you should play them?
I think it's pretty, well, no. Because it's misleading.
Yeah, it's super weird.
You know you can take games, plus one believe yes. It's like saying Tau hit on 4. It's like, well, really, they don't. I also like how he explains the way that numbers work. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's like what colors. Like, yeah, thank you for the numbers. We appreciate that.
Yeah. By the way, he didn't pay any heed if you happen to be colorblind. So next, if you watch, honestly, you know, when Bricky watches this, which they will, because you know, big React channel, Brick Reacts.
Brick Reacts, Brick
Reacts. You should always pair color change with like an icon or a different like font or something, so people could tell the difference. Or like if
that's a pro tip.
Yeah, that's a pro tip. That's a pro UX tip. Anyways, back to Bricky's lies.
To keep them from taking any damage. Most of their stratagems aren't based around survivability, but in fact more firepower. Guard don't shoot amazing with their 4
there it is again.
Accuracy,
Yeah.
but they
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sheer
you could argue like different shapes, but I would make the 4, 5, 6
I don't care if my
bigger.
tank hits on 4s.
Yeah, and maybe change it to like Comic Sans or something.
3 of them. If the Marines are like the pristine,
that way I can tell the transition more.
Do anything, and they have a little tool for every situation. Guard are like a Swiss Army knife that's about 10 times as big and attached to a big wooden stick that you just beat the shit out of people with. Your units are squishy, they don't hit great, but you've got so many of them that you just take people out by drowning them in gunfire. As for collecting the Guard, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Their models are a bit older than I'd like. I personally think that they could use a decent amount of updates.
Once again,
this guy doesn't even know about any of the new models.
But since they've got so many
he's also using
so many forge
like, what is this
options,
packaging?
A lot
so
of them
strange.
are a bit old and are showing considering their age.
AI
as for
generated
collecting
boxes,
them
pretty
in the
cool.
money side, they're pretty expensive. You're going for a horde
Man,
army.
can you imagine if the
so you're
garden
gonna
looked like
have
this?
Tons of models
I
on the,
wouldn't- I
the
can't
playing
even think
field.
of guard
That being
looking like
said, I
that.
still do love them. I love their
Right.
lore and their design. I love the large swaths of infantry, and I personally think they are pretty fun, if maybe not the greatest army as a main army. The Adeptus Mechanicus are the war cult of
Let's see.
Mars. They are.
What?
Let's see what he has to say.
Wait,
Right?
is he going through all of them, or is he saying the best ones?
I think he's going through all of them.
Oh, okay. Because if he says this is a good one to start with,
I once told one of my buddies was like, "Oh, I want to get into Warhammer. What army should I start with?" And I was like, "Well, what do you like?" And he's like, "Well, I really like to have like units and stuff, like having MSU." And I was like, "Okay."
okay.
And he's like, "But I also want to run like big robots." And I was like, "Well."
Right.
Like what kind of MSU do you want? Do you want like just like small units of single things? He's like, no, I want like bodies and stuff. And I was like, well, there's Tau. And he was like, no, I don't like Tau. And I'm like, well, there's Eldar. And he's like, I don't like Eldar. And I'm like, there's Necrons. And he's like, no, I want like mechs. And I was like,
Trying to get you to say it.
there's AdMech. And he was like, those look cool because I could run Imperial Knights with them. To this day, my man Piot's like, you screwed me, Atesh. I can never play Warhammer because every time I get close to having 2,000 points, they change something, and then my 2,000 points get buffed to being 1,400 points, and I have to buy more models. I will never live that down. So
it's so I just actively someone asked about starting with this army, and I actively recommended against it. It's just so they've not got it right since the launch. It's always changing, like you said. It's a ton of models. They're very fiddly. They're hard to paint. It's expensive.
I don't
know.
Let's
just see. So if he
viewer a solid.
Yeah.
What you're saying, but we're gonna skip this section.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I thought you were just gonna downvote it immediately.
Yeah.
It would also been fair.
We'll do that too.
Be like mentions Adeptus Mechanicus downvote.
Yeah, I did downvote. So
that's fair.
As you were saying.
Oh no, that's it. It's just it's too much. It's the Space Brain problem, but worse in some ways.
Yeah. Also, look at these spindly guys. Like in practice, they probably seem cool, and then you realize that this is probably about like net 6 points of your army. Like
yeah,
you'll hurt yourself playing all that. So let's just skip this section.
Yeah. So. Price, maybe a little bit more expensive. Yeah. Next up, you've got the Adeptus Sororitas.
This is actually
my second favorite army, though I will be honest, they are really coming up to overtaking the Imperial Guard. I love my Guard, I love my Cadians, I love my Tempestus Scions, but
you couldn't even think of the names of units.
Yeah, dude,
they're really cool.
They don't have that many units
from a lore perspective. They're just insanely
in Minecraft. Yeah, you just have to remember the bricks.
Cool. As for the tabletop, they're one of the closest range armies in the entire game that isn't a full-on melee army. And they're a slow-moving, like advancing gun line army with some actually horrifying melee units and just some like ridiculous close-range firepower. The Sisters are probably one of the top 3 hardest armies to play, I'd say. They've got some really weird antics as well, kind of like
I think that's a little
maybe
true.
Not quite as wacky. This army can be played in almost
generally fair.
Yeah, like the Sisters, like they've won events, but it's not because like they're just insanely powerful.
Yeah, not currently.
Yeah, definitely not right now, which is what Bricky means right now. Okay,
Well, you can do this a full gunline army or a full melee army or 50-50. Everything is viable. They do require a lot of finesse and manipulation because these are all low toughness sisters that do have good armor, but when you've got a low toughness like they do and they're not necessarily the most powerful when it comes to the actual punching, they can actually be shot off pretty quickly. So you need to be really smart on how you maneuver them because you've got a super
some lucky guesses here. I feel like
kind of squishy army at times.
There's a lot of like
to get through. That being said, people are
if this then that and maybe this.
Let me be the first one.
My man,
it's a fortune teller thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's got to figure out things that are like general enough that they sound right.
Yeah.
They probably apply to Minecraft too.
Imagine if this guy like actually played Warhammer and like maybe even like streamed playing Warhammer, how incorrect those games would be. I That would be so insane. But I will say, like, I'm a little frustrated. He's like, oh, they're squishy, but he doesn't even mention that, like, they're squishy until you put them in cover. And it's like, oh, now.
Or
like,
Miracle Dice, and you can just auto stick what you need.
yeah, it's like he doesn't even know what a Miracle
Mention that,
Dice
Bricky.
is.
Probably never even heard of them.
Gosh.
I'm going to say it, you are all sleeping on how strong this army is. This army, if played well by a smart person,
Not this guy.
Rush you. Collecting of the models, Sisters are the most recent army, at least as the time of making this video, who had a complete army overhaul. For a while, there were no plastic Sister models whatsoever, but the entire army, besides I think one unit, got a full overhaul of models. Everything is brand spanking new, and they probably have the best looking models in the entire game, in my opinion. They look incredible. That crazy gothic, kind of Catholic nun look. I mean, come on, their tank is a pipe organ missile launcher. It's a pipe organ missile launcher. Sisters
I love this
are one
model.
of the coolest.
This is a reason to play Sisters.
Yeah,
They are
absolutely.
a bit expensive, though.
Like,
That's the one downside, is that because this entire army
he does such a good job at, like, adding words to why a thing, but, like, personally, I look at it as, like, the vibe. Like, here are the vibes of Sisters and why you should play them. Church on buildings, things that will make your opponent go, no, wait, what? And nuns.
Right.
Like, those are the three vibes.
That's all you needed to say.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he's trying to stretch this video out and make sure it's a lot of content.
Yeah.
Really doesn't have.
Yeah, I definitely, video essays are definitely the appropriate method of
So true.
YouTube content when you're not doing the Minecraft content.
brand new. It is brand new with a brand new price tag. So I personally love them. They might soon become my favorite army. I can't quite tell yet. They look great. They're a little expensive to collect. They have lots of different kinds of abilities, both melee and shooting. No psychic phase, but they do have some shenanigans to stop other people.
nothing has psychic phase,
using
but
the
that's
psychic
fine.
phase.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool, but
There he
they're
goes talking
really
about
hard
this
to
made-up
play,
phase.
and they take a lot of practice.
Weird
So,
thing to say.
up to you. I would say not a very good starting army, but they are pretty neat. All right, Grey Knights. I heard you like the psychic phase. If you like the psychic phase, this is the psychic phase for you.
The
Grey Knights
fuck
are
is
Space
that
Marines.
he made up
about?
Super mega super elite Space Marines that are all psychers. They're nuts. Grey Knights are insane. They are very, very elite.
He really committed to
You
this
have
bit.
Yeah.
probably like maybe 40% fewer models than
imagine
an average
going to a
army will have.
tournament
All of your
after
dudes,
watching this
however,
video
are scary
and
in
being
their own
like,
right. They'll
and on
hit
my
very well
psychic
on threes
phase.
minimum.
There's the
They'll
numbers
have
again.
Great armor. Since
Yeah, he's
they're
like,
all
"Ah,
psychic,
now let me move to the psychic
dealing
phase."
with
Like, what are you
other
talking about?
psychers. They also
someone look
have
at you. He said
great
that.
shooting and very strong melee. All of your guys have extremely powerful melee weapons.
This isn't true.
The only
Questionable.
downside of Grey
This isn't
Knights
true.
is that
They're like
anti-psychic
strength 5 and
shenanigans
6.
can really harm
I
them,
think,
and you are
like,
running an elite
Grey
army
Knights
with
are in
very
an
few
okay
models.
spot
When you
right
run
now.
very few models, that means every
Okay,
time
but I
you
would
roll,
definitely under
you
no
roll those
circumstances
ones,
say they
it
have
hurts
powerful
much
melee. Like, that's
more.
like the best thing about them is their
They have
shooting.
this
Yes.
awesome kind of old school
Yes.
knight round
And even then,
aesthetic
their shooting
with them
is
all
like-
carrying things like halberds,
it just
and
can't deal
falchions.
with
They've got
certain things.
hell holy text in it. They carry
Yeah,
books
it's
around,
pretty low. It's like
flags.
low to
They
mid
do get to
strength.
use every phase as well. Lots of psychic, and then they're shooting
Yeah,
and
'cause
a
they
ton
can't
of
even kill
melee as well.
Warhammer
Mainly
Titan.
psychic and melee in terms of buying.
Right.
them, they're not
Yeah,
too
definitely
bad,
not. I
actually.
mean, in your
One of the
experience, right,
cheaper
that's not-
armies
that
as
was
well,
definitely
not a good
because
matchup
when
for
you're
them.
running an elite army.
There's a lot of armies that just struggle into
tabletops,
Warhounds, though. Honestly, that's why I think they're kind of the top tier faction right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think,
Yeah, Warhound.
As for their scopes,
Warhound Titan has a lot of
how
play.
new they are. I wouldn't call them very
Yeah, for sure.
new. I call them like middle ground when it comes to how old they are. They're not super old, but they're not necessarily super new either. That
pretty
being
fucking
said,
old.
if they are, say,
They're pretty old.
or
Again,
whatever,
very,
they do
very
look great.
vaguey
I love
here.
the way the plastic models
Yeah,
look,
I
I mean,
mean,
they look fantastic. and I would recommend trying them out if you
I
like
would-
a psyker heavy.
I would
Marine.
definitely play Grey Knights if they had more recent models.
Yeah, that's fair.
How do you
actually.
feel about the?
They're all
new,
the short ones.
How do you feel about the new Grandmaster, the baby carrier?
I thought it was just an upgrade kit. 'Cause
Really?
It looks exactly the same. Yes.
It looks so different to me.
Really?
I don't know why. I was talking about it with Demeki and Garrett, and they're like, "It's the same." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And what it is, it has
It's the
like
same
chest.
kit.
No, it's like chest guns.
It needed to be more. We'll see if we can pose it better. But that's my big issue. Is like it still has the. It's just the posing. Honestly, if they just fixed the posing, I'd be so much more into that model.
Yeah, if it was like running or something, yeah.
Yeah, like show me how the joints move.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to play Grey Knights. They're, I want to
Okay.
add some silver.
I feel like it's your vibe.
Bronze, yeah, but I just can't get behind their models.
Yeah.
And I think they're definitely because they're smaller than regular Space Marines now. They're all jujitsu enthusiasts. So.
It's so true.
You
They're
play
very
Space
tiny.
Marines and you're like, wow,
It's the perfect army for Brian.
Grey Knights.
It is.
Competition. Infantry is for losers. It's big mech.
Now we're
boy
talking.
time. If I'm being honest, though, the Imperial Knights, I wouldn't recommend them. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't think Imperial Knights are a very good army for a new player. They are one of the cheap.
Okay, that's a special take because
That's very interesting.
I feel like most new players, almost all of them gravitate towards asking the question of should I do Imperial Knights?
That's so true, actually.
Right?
It's very common.
And I'm not saying like they do it. Every time I'm like, oh, do you want to get into Warhammer? They'll be like, oh, should I do Imperial Knights? And it's like the thought process is few models and under $500, right? And it's like Warhammer, no secret, very expensive hobby to get into, but you could also just play with a single model and in a smaller game, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, but I agree. I don't think it's the best army to start with. I think it's the best army if like you need to have an army in 24 hours.
And you don't have a pre-constructed, bin like a frontline.
No, even with a pre-constructed bin at frontline, because then you could have a whole army for under $300, as long as you borrowed a Warhound Titan from your friend Josh. That's important.
Non-specific example. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say these guys, they're not good to start with because they don't teach you about the economy of the game, and they punish you when like metas are kind of like out of whack, where it's like everything.
Yeah,
in a killy meta where vehicles ain't shit, like kind of like where we are right now. I feel I don't know. Like if one of these is out and I shot it with my tanks, and you're not a seasoned player and you're a new player, it just feels bad.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ion shields? Are you kidding me?
and like that's an exit point for a new player when they just finished painting a new thing, they play their first game, and their new toy just gets blown up. So let's see if that
feels bad.
If Mr. Bricky has that sage wisdom that we have.
Indeed.
Cheapest armies you can buy, because while each knight in its own right is very expensive, you only need 3 or 4 to fill out an entire game's worth. And compare that to a full army, they're actually not too bad, like price-wise. The problem with knights is that, as cool as they are, they don't use the psychic phase. They have plenty of shooting.
The psychic phase, dude.
And they can.
He's obsessed with the psychic phase.
But when you're playing Imperial Knights, you're not really playing 40k. A great friend of mine said, if you're playing Imperial Knights, you're playing chess, but you have about 6 queens against a normal enemy chess player. If the enemy chess player is smart, they could easily beat your 6 queens. I'm sure it'll be pretty simple for them to use their full arsenal to beat you. But if the enemy chess player is a noob, for instance, then there's a good chance that they're not going to be able to win, and you'll just kind of noob stomp them. And
that's a really
what
cool
knights
knight
are.
scheme, actually.
Knights are generally
I was really
stompers.
I was like, I've never seen that before.
Your army. They're not good for new players because they don't really teach you the game, and it's not the way the game is really, I don't know how to say it, meant to be played, so to speak.
Good on you,
against
Bricky,
knight players. If you're a knight player, it's totally fine. If you run a knight valiant, you have nothing but my respect. All right, get that knight valiant, 2-up armor, 4-up invul, Trader's Pyre. Oh, you can't have both. Just have Trader's Pyre, the coolest weapon in the game. All right, but honestly, just for a new player, I would not recommend
the record, you can't have both.
They're cool.
Yeah, that's
they're
incorrect.
great.
All right, so he says not
one of
them.
them.
Who's
if you
next?
just want to paint really cool. Golden Boys. Adeptus Custodians are the elite of
Bad
the
army to
elite.
start
This is
with.
probably one of the most elite
why is that?
possibly play. These guys.
He probably doesn't even know about these things. They're called mortal wounds and devastating wounds.
Okay.
I think that those are things that become pretty accessible, like random parts in a meta. And if this is your only army and you don't have a sickness like I do, it feels really bad to go into like a meta where like, because your whole point of a Custodes army, right? Like not whole point, but like if we're durable is their thing, which feels like what Games Workshop wants to lean into, at least towards the end of last year. This year they're changing a little bit about it, but things that override your toughness feel extra worse, and they're super accessible. Like lethal hits is very accessible to a lot of armies.
Yeah.
And so like it feels
Point,
it just feels bad. It's kind of like that other thing. However, I do think custodians are one of the few armies that like sell a true power fantasy of like, oh yeah, yes, I have one guy left in my squad, and if you ignore him, he might actually be able to like turn the tide of this game. I remember I was playing against not Bricky, but a different guy named Bricky. And he left my Blade Champion alive. Yeah, it was Bricky. And my Blade Champion was alive, and it just ran through into his back line and ended up like scoring me like 30 points. Like, cause it like
that's what they do.
Well, yeah, and it's like you can't leave one alive. So I think that's a very like that power fantasy is a thing that like Space Marines can't really accomplish. You don't get the same with like Imperial Knights. So you do get those cool stories with Custodes, but I think in the reality of it is that like there's so much that can make them feel horrible to play. And if you're the type of person that gets really into winning and losing, which like, you know, basic human psychology is most people, I don't think they're a good army to start. So that's my hot take. And I'm not just saying that so less people play my army. But
yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. We welcome all into the 10,000. Why'd you get big, Bricky? Okay.
Guys are nuts. They hit on 2s or higher. The
numbers. He didn't include number 1 here.
Melee.
Yeah, he did every other time.
The health of a normal Space Marine. They have a better armor save than a normal Space Marine. They all have
we're gonna skip this portion
refractor fields around them.
Now, I mean, I think you killed it, honestly.
Chaos.
Yeah.
So we got the Chaos Demons to start off with. Chaos Demons follow one of 4 gods: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slanesh Big Titty. With Slanesh Big Titty, you're going for melee and
demons.
Facts.
Weird, you have to say it every time.
Yeah. So, anyways, what are you working on these days? What are you painting?
I'm always painting orcs, man. You know it.
Yeah.
I'm painting up some new trucks right now. It's good stuff.
Dude, do you have any? Like near you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the studio.
I need to.
You think I keep models in the studio?
Sometimes.
What are you working on?
So I'm about to start to. I like damage some of my custodians, so I like fixed this dude up.
No.
He's okay. He's fine now. But then I'm gonna start, wrapping up my Blood Angels. He's talking about some fictitious army, by the way. Chaos Demons. I don't know.
I've literally never heard of.
I haven't heard of that army.
It looks like an old world army, honestly.
Oh, it kind of does look like an old.
They don't even have any guns.
If Garrett was
Sigmar?
around,
I don't know.
we could call him. I'm sure he could explain a bit about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. Oh, dude, how was Adepticon?
It was awesome. It was so much fun.
I'm sad.
I'm sad you didn't go. You should have been there. I was there. Tyler was there.
Dude,
everyone you care about was there.
Did you guys get pizza?
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
No, we got barbecue. It was even better. It was beautiful. We had a little date.
I didn't know amazing. Barbecue out there was the thing. Okay, Chaos Space Marines. We're back.
Real army. Okay.
Of Games Workshop, they don't really seem to like you, Chaos, that much. I don't know why.
What?
A lot of your models
Wow.
and a lot of them are expensive.
That's just inflammatory.
And your rules
That's really
aren't
clicks
that
right there.
great. Most of the time, with the exception of something that happened in 7th edition with Chaos Demons, apparently. I heard it was a very, very strong codex. Chaos Space Marines are very similar to regular Space Marines, but they're much more focused on melee combats. You still have shooting, and it depends on which faction you're going through as well. But while you do have your shooting units, it is generally more melee-based, I'd say. Demons in their own right, and Chaos in their own right, want to run in there and start breaking face. That's generally their MO.
That really looks like an AI-generated image.
It depends on what legion you're joining.
That looks
but
nothing
overall,
like,
there are a ton of different ways for you to go ahead and get about completing your objective. The Death Guard,
you can tell it's what it's trying to be, but it's like not quite there.
It just doesn't know the proportions.
They both have their own codexes. They both have their own special units, especially Death Guard.
But if you never played the game before, you wouldn't know.
Very recent, and both of them allow you to field a Primarch, which might be one of the coolest parts about them. You can run Mortarion or Magnus the Red, both gigantic, beautiful models that are just awesome showpieces to have. They get shot a lot, but once they get into combat, oh man, do they cause problems. As stated before, you should be building what you like, of course. What you enjoy is the most important part of it. But as for
what about Angron? What's up with that?
Yeah, these are the real chaos
and you gotta
demons.
like
These ones are
different
real.
kinds of.
Yeah. I know these guys.
I'd say demons aren't, not demons, but chaos in general isn't a great faction to start off with as a new player, because you need to
again, that one really does not look real. It looks like a third-party model,
which you're running a little bit more prevalent.
I think he's supporting
on doing anything chaos related, at least until they get a solid update.
Yeah, you think that's his, like, official
someone
stance?
Teaches you, or you get a little more into the hobby.
And I think
with the exception of Death Guard, I think Death Guard is in a good place for a new player, because Death Guard is pretty cool. But besides that, they're a little tough.
Well, you can't be too careful here.
Let's talk about some Xenos, starting off with the space.
I think he means Eldari, maybe?
So the Eldar are definitely more glass cannon.
Look at the faces.
They are the first Xenos we're talking about.
He's like,
versions.
Those
There's
aren't
also the
Eldar.
Drukhari and the Harlequins.
No, it's definitely
However,
not.
the Eldar, they are strike hard, strike fast, and get out of there immediately. So the thing about Eldars, what would happen is they would fly out of somewhere, immediately gun down with extremely high-powered weaponry, hitting on threes with some kind of BS stratagems, if I'm being honest. And then they can zip back into combat.
Honestly, it would be pretty cool if there were airplanes in 4K.
Honestly, Eldar probably have some of the more powerful shenanigans when it comes to the game. They have lots of weird rules. Their stuff hits extremely hard. But of course, once you fire back at them, if you live, they will crumble under a slight breeze to an extent. If you play Eldar, you won't be making a bunch of friends, if I'm being honest. I'd say Eldar are top 3 most aggravating enemies to fight against. People don't like fighting Eldar a whole lot. Myself included, I find them to be quite aggravating. But if you're that kind of person who likes zip in, zip out, and be all kind of trickery and sneaky, they're definitely the army for you. They're definitely more shooting and psychic based. That's the 2 main things. They've got some good melee, but mainly shooting and psychic based. As for collecting Craft World Eldar, I'd say that they got some good sculpts. Some of their models look pretty good. They got some nice plastic. A few of it's a little bit older, but you don't need a huge army. So when it comes to the money side of it, not too bad. I'd say the financials for it are pretty dang solid, and I wouldn't call them an expensive army to collect, at least not from my knowledge. The Dark Eldar, or the Drukhari, are like Eldar cranked up to 12.
Well, at least using the right
They're
thing,
faster, they can hit harder at some points, and they have really good melee units. Their melee units are actually
really good melee
really
units?
scary, but they're also
they have like one.
doubly.
I wouldn't say plural
They're
for sure.
also a lot harder to play. They're probably top 3 hardest armies to play, along with the Sisters of Battle, and that actually goes on the Harlequins as well. Harlequins are.
What would you say is the hardest army to play?
Oh my gosh, probably GSC, I'd say. They're so wacky, it's hard to they're very fragile, which is kind of what he was saying with these other factions, but they're fragile. You got to hit in the right place at the right time. You have to use your resources carefully because they'll die to a stiff breeze. So probably them.
I got it. Oh, these guys behind Bricky look really cool. Those are Harlequins?
They should make an army like this.
They should make an army like those guys.
He should make a whole army like this. I would play a ton of this if it was real.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
For sure, me too. And I would love painting all those diamonds.
Yeah. Just let me paint just like checkers all day.
Yeah.
An army that just don't collect Harlequins, if I'm being honest. They're not a great choice. They have barely any models, and they're really weird, and they have a lot of shenanigans if you want to pull them off. If you're a new player, I would not recommend Harlequins at all. Dark Eldar, and Harlequins.
Weird thing. It's kind of like the psychic phase. He makes it up, and then he's like, oh yeah, this army doesn't have it.
I mean, in all
not
fairness,
too expensive, I would
that army
say.
doesn't even
Drukhari,
exist.
I think, is a
how
little
could
bit
you
more
recommend?
expensive.
That's why
than the other two.
That's why the weird.
Not too pricey, because
I guess he's trying to cover his tracks a little bit.
Units in your
He's padding the video for sure.
Moving on, we got Tyranids, bugs. Yeah, got bugs. You gotta love those bugs. So many bugs. Now, Tyranids obviously are a horde army. It should be very obvious. They are also a melee horde army. Whoa, I know, call the presses. You are mainly spending your time in the melee phase, as well as some of the psychic phase. You got a lot of good psychers in the Tyranids army, funny enough. You've got some pretty involved and advanced bugs. And your melee phase is as it seems. You have really gigantic, gargantuan creatures that eat everything alive, or you've got 40,000 little boys that eat everything alive. You do actually have some somewhat good shooting too with your Exocrine and your Hive Guard.
Yeah, that's
Put out
true.
some
Fair,
pretty
fair.
decent shots. They are definitely the kind of army you run if you want big swaths of just these angry little running bug dudes that just swarm on your enemy. It's literally called the Tyrannid Swarm. As for price-wise though, I'd say they're actually very, very expensive to collect. Their scopes are,
I don't know if that's
some
true.
are a little bit older, but not all of them. They're a little bit in between.
I think it's hard to make a blanket
date
statement like
release for their
anything, you know.
scopes. I'd say
But
they
he
are a
seems
bit
to really like making those.
though they are
A
expensive.
YouTube thing, I think.
They're expensive, and you're running a horde army, so it's definitely one of the top more expensive armies to collect because, come on,
Easy to
tons
paint,
of
though.
mugs, tons of models, and
That's where you can do
skills.
contrast. There you go.
Can be a little bit of a challenge. Gene
once
Stealer
again,
Colts.
I
You
failed
want to play bugs, but
contrast
you want to
with
play
them. I'm
human
so bad
bugs
with
with
contrast.
scrubs.
No,
Gene
how?
Stealer Colts are a very new addition.
Maybe Brian
Very,
can teach me
very
how to
new.
contrast
And
them.
they run in this.
Well, he couldn't teach you how to dry
as weird
brush,
as
so
AdMech style.
we gotta
army.
get that one
They're
down first.
very fast. They hit really hard, and they like dip underground. They crawl from underground. They hit you with very powerful short-range weaponry and super strong melee attack. And then they kind of run away, and they like hit and run tactics. That's probably the best way to do it. Hit and run tactics. They come out of the ground. They spook you. They do a bunch of damage. They run away. They got some weird psychic spells here and there. They run these like makeshift Mad Max trucks and stuff. They definitely have a
don't
unique
think
play
that's
style. They
true.
deploy strangely.
No.
They like to zip
not
around the place
orcs.
kind of strangely, and
That
they
definitely works. I think he
are
maybe
one of
crossed
the
his notes a
more
little bit.
unique armies there are.
A lot of things he's
Whatever
saying right
you
now
collecting
describes
them,
orcs.
No,
Yeah.
they.
If you don't know the factions, you know it's
fulfill
easy to
a
get mixed up.
niche, but they're not that like overarchingly special, I'd say. I don't know what the word is exactly, but they are a very specific play style for a very specific player. If you're running Tyranid, you might consider doing Gene Stealer Cults, but
No.
at that point, you already kind of know
They're
what
very
you're doing, so
Yeah,
I don't think
they're
I
not
recommend
even
this to a new
remotely
player. Gene Stealer Cults and Tyranids both a little bit rough to recommend to a new person because they are very expensive, both of them. And while the models for Gene Stealer Cults are definitely a lot newer and that's much nicer, they need practice. They are definitely a harder army, and I would recommend waiting on those if you're a new player.
It's really weird because he'll say something that makes complete sense and then he'll say like nonsense. So like that's correct. He was like, hey, it's kind of a hard army to play, and you know.
And also, they're great in the psychic phase, and you're like, what are you talking about?
How could you be so right and so wrong at the same time?
Yeah,
Orcs.
that seems to be his vibe.
Adrian, he says they only hit on 5s and 6s, but 6s are a different color, but it's a slightly different hue of green.
Whoa.
I don't,
He's probably referring to more DACA.
yeah,
That's
which,
the thing too. That's
yeah, is that what that is?
good on him. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you want to just
Like
talk about
6s are
orcs
special.
and then we can skip to the Necrons?
Yeah, orcs are fantastic. I think they're
just
the
all-
coolest army in the game.
Yep.
They're
go
the
ahead.
best army in the game, obviously. Collecting wise, though, it's tough because it's another deep army. Any of these armies that are very deep, does make it hard to collect because things will change. And so I think that's something that I would. If you like them because you like the models, which again, as Bricky does correctly say in the beginning of the video, play an army because you like the models, and that's the number one reason to play. If you're playing them because of that, that's great. If you're playing them for rules and things like that, it's kind of dubious, and they can be expensive, honestly. So, grain of salt. I'd say they're like a medium level new players army.
All right.
That's how it works.
Yeah, sounds great. I would also throw they're painful to paint.
Yes, they are. They have all the materials. Like, you want to do skin? You want to do leather? Do you want to do metals? Do you want to do cloth? Teeth? All in the same model? That works.
It's painful, but when fully painted and when they're one of the most awesome armies to field.
So true.
From an aesthetic perspective. All right, let's see what he's got to say about Necrons.
Necrons. So the Necrons, if I had to pick a Xenos army, I'd play Necrons, honestly. Necrons, I mean, they're just so cool. Undead, Egyptian, skeleton robots.
That's not true. He has a Xenos army. It's Votan. He plays
Oh.
And I bet you
Interesting.
I bet you he doesn't even talk about Votan in here.
I haven't seen, I'm looking at the chapters. I don't think he's covered them.
Well, no.
Did you just forget a whole army?
It ends. He just forgot him, dude.
That's
think
crazy.
a Minecraft streamer would be all about like the mining army? I mean, I know he plays that. I know he plays it.
So
I've
true.
played it.
Wow.
Let's see what he has to say about
that carry enslaved gods into battle. How is that the coolest thing ever? So Necrons are fittingly named all about necromancy, but not like the undead homina necromancy, but like necromancy through metal. So the way Necrons are is that they are kind of a slow moving, at least some of their units slow moving, gun line with some mixed in melee units. Not all their army is melee, but their melee units that they have are actually like really scary. But for a while, Necrons are kind of slow-moving Terminator style guys. They just blast you away at a distance with some very powerful weaponry. They kind of have Space Marine stat lines, actually. They run about as many models as Space Marines. They got similar stat lines,
here come the numbers.
Weaponry. I'd say that they're actually quite similar to Space Marines in the terms of how they play. But they actually do have a lot of weird shenanigans that make Necrons their own. For instance, the main thing that you might want to pick Necrons for is their reanimation protocol.
I know. I feel so let down.
Let's say you got 10 units of warriors, for instance.
He's going to show us a lot of numbers in a second.
It gets crazy.
Let's say 7. Kill 7 of them. You got 3 of them left. Their turn ends. Your turn starts. You then roll
what are they grabbing?
Every dead model. So 7 models, 7 dice. And for every 5 or higher, you automatically get one of your models to just stand right back up. Your Necrons
That's one way to do it, I guess.
Your vehicles regenerate health as time goes on. You have special abilities.
Those are the dice pool.
Make your Necrons come back on a 4-up.
It was so clear.
5. You can re-roll your 1s for it. It's all about getting your units to come back up and being like, if you're fighting Necrons, you better kill it. Because if you leave it wounded, it's going to repair itself, and that's not a very good thing. That's the idea of Necrons. They got good shooting, they got good melee, and honestly, now is a good time to be a Necron player. They are getting a massive update right now. Yeah. This is right before 9th when this video is coming out, and they are getting huge new model ranges, a ton of just new units in general, massive updates, rule updates. Necrons are getting big additions, and I think it's going to be super great. Now is a good time to be a Necron player. The new stuff might be a little expensive to collect because it is new stuff. That being said, they're not an elite army.
That's an insane, like, all right, I could see how the layman would think that, but when it's the new stuff, it's normally at its cheapest because it's coming in like battle boxes or like whatever they're called now.
Exactly.
And you like split it with a friend, and it's the cheapest. You're like, I remember at the beginning of 9th edition, you could start like an actual real Necron army for like $100. You'd have
so true. It's so true.
The box was like 200 Indomitus. It was 200. It came with like 760 points. There was a book. And so if you bought like normal, I think people were doing like a split where it was like 75 and then the other would pay like 125 and get the book. So it was like $200. My apologies. Double the price for a humble $200, which, you know, is a lot of money. Yeah. Still.
It is. Compared to other Warhammer though. It's great.
You're getting you're getting almost, you're getting, is it 1450 points? I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's one of the best value propositions you can take. So I don't know.
So true. Yeah.
Beginning of a thing.
Can't be played elite army if they wanted to, but they don't have a few models. They don't have too many models. They're nice in between, and now is a time for it. Last but not least, we have the Tau Empire. The Tau Empire is for people who want to gun their opponent down with the most sci-fi hardcore Gundam giant mech stuff you can think of.
And that pretty much sums it up, right?
I mean, that's basically Tau. It's surprising that he did such a good job there, considering all the other issues.
Yeah, look at how much more.
He probably talks about the psychic phase, but like, look at the ways the views drop off, though.
Talking about, we don't even need to cover that. But hey, man, thanks for hanging out. It was really serendipitous of you to call me when I decided to watch a video about starting Warhammer. What's the best army? If you had,
that's kind of perfect timing.
Yeah, really, it couldn't be manufactured. What army would you actually recommend to start with?
Oh gosh, genuinely, we just talked about them, but I think Necrons are a fantastic starting army because guess what? They are affordable. They have a deep line, but it's not constantly changing all over the place. And so you have like places you can go. And also it's a scheme that is very easy to do to be good enough. But if you're like really want to get into painting or a really good painter, you can do a lot with it. So it, like for me, it just kind of ticks all the columns of like consistency, easy to pick up, easy to start painting, and then there's a lot of depth if you want to stick with them. But you don't have to constantly be switching like these other big factions. So that's what I would say.
You know, I'm inclined to agree. I think a lot of like I don't know a lot of folks that start the hobby with Necrons being upset. I know a lot of people
exactly.
that Imperial Knights that are upset, Chaos Knights.
Yep.
You didn't even talk about Chaos Knights, by the way. Did you notice that?
I know. What's up with that?
What the
That's
fuck?
crazy. That's pretty hurtful.
Yeah. But yeah, I think but like I look at Necrons kind of the same way. Like I look at Orcs, Space Marines, Eldari, and Chaos Marines. It's like they are all like full complete ranges that can do anything however you want to construct them, right? And so if you're like really into like, oh, I really like the Imperium, I think the best army for you to start with is Space Marines. But I would be like, I would pick a chapter and kind of stick with it, which is what a lot of folks
I think
do.
that's definitely very true.
You'll have more fun doing like a core, like a non-codex compliant chapter like Space Wolves, Blood Angels, or Dark Angels, because the way they play tends to be like attached to a smaller range, so you don't have to deal with the erroneous bullshit of like, intercessors went up 10 points across the board because of some weird interaction. Now I need to use scouts instead, and you have to do like a whole pivot. Whereas like you know, it's kind of funny. I think actually a lot of times where that's happened, it's because of a response of like a Blood Angels or a Dark Angels thing. Now that
So true, yeah.
But you could still like Black Templar, for instance. You can play a full Black Templar stack army, and that feels really cool. But then if you ever need to be like, oh, I need a big tank, you could just dip into the Space Marine stuff, right? Whereas like Eldar, kind of the same thing. Orcs, the same thing. Whereas like I'd be less likely to recommend armies like, you know, Imperial Knights, even Custodes, because they don't have those ranges. I know there's
exactly
like Custodes in Forge World, but spending $200 on a tank is super painful.
That sounds a little crazy. I think Death Guard are another great starter army for a lot of the reasons I already mentioned. You know, they've got a great range that's wide but not too wide. Again, easy to paint, easy to get started, and you can kind of dip into other armies, whether it be like allies or whatever. So I think Death Guard is definitely another like top contender for me. Always recommend Death Guard.
If I was Bricky, I would definitely redo this video.
Yeah, look, it's a good start.
Yeah.
If he wants to really talk about Warhammer, I think it's a fine place for him to start. I'm definitely gonna check him out.
Maybe he should go
check out his like Minecraft stuff. Yeah, he should. We could teach him a thing or two about Warhammer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Maybe we should reach out to him and be like, if you want to change a pace, we're not big Minecraft people, but seems like you might be interested in what we do.
Yeah.
You should come on, check it out. What we can do a thing.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. Then we could really take him up on some of these issues we have here. We'll talk about the psychic phase for sure.
Yeah, definitely talk about the psychic phase. Well, man, thanks for hanging out.
My pleasure. Thanks for answering. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime for you.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
That was Adrian from Tabletop Titans. Tabletop Titans. All right, folks, that's the end of our stream. If you want more brick reacts, I give this video 16 bricks out of 7 on the logarithmic scale. All right, thank you. Good night.